All right. Before we begin, this is just going to be my rant about the Mortal Kombat movie. If you don't want to stand and watch a guy completely spoil it and tell you why it's not as good as everyone thinks it is, then go ahead and just go to the next video. But I have to come out and say this, that a bunch of fight scenes and a generic hero story do not make a Mortal Kombat movie. Needs to be taken on as something else. I am going to admit that it's an okay movie to go watch if you're a moviegoer. Be my guest, go ahead and watch it. But don't expect to go in there and actually see Mortal Kombat. It has very, very minimum to do with Mortal Kombat, other than a few of the characters' names and some of the, I guess you could say, game storyline. Other than that, it's not a Mortal Kombat movie. All right. That being said, spoilers, of course. I'm about to blow this whole movie out of the water. For one, Cole Young, not a character from Mortal Kombat. As far as I could tell, I haven't played them all. Even the off games, never saw a Cole Young character. Okay, Hanzo Asashi's bloodline ended the day that he died. That's what it's always been about. All right, and on top of that, it wasn't exactly Sub-Zero who killed him. It was a guy imposing himself as Sub-Zero, leading the Lin Kuei. Right, so Bihan, or Bihan as some people tend to call him, is technically the innocent guy. He is a badass, right? And the story's been changed over a few times actually in the games. At first it was him, and then it come to realize it was a guy named sorceress named Quan Chi that duped Scorpion the whole time, killing him and then bringing him back as a Spectre to avenge his family and clan. That's what it's always been about. He did not hide in hell for 400, 500, 600 years until his kunai dagger got struck by the murderer of him and his clan and family, that he automatically released for a few seconds to take revenge on him. He's always been reborn as a Spectre hunting Sub-Zero. Then on top of it, I don't get what exactly happened when it came to the creators of Mortal Kombat, because they were so adamant about being part of the movie back in '95, right, that they would not allow it to verge stray so badly like it has become. I don't know what happened to Ed Boon or John Tobias, why they allowed this to happen, because it just, not saying it has, just seems like they just like, oh, here's the rights, here's the IP to our movie rights, give us a boatload of cash. We don't care what you do with it, because it was so meticulous about it in '95 that they made sure that it stayed true to the actual story of Mortal Kombat. This crap is out of the fucking left wing. I'm sorry. That being said, so Cole Young, descendant of Hanzo Asashi, the Scorpion himself, who is probably the most badass character in all of Mortal Kombat. And he does get really cool fighting with some of the Lin Kuei, but that doesn't take place in Mortal Kombat. He's literally ambushed. Mortal Kombat Legacy, the web series that is no longer on YouTube, portrays it better. He gets into a fight with Sub-Zero. He wins the fight, right? But he doesn't kill Sub-Zero. He knocks him out. Sub-Zero returns home to find his wife, his child, and his entire clan been murdered, and that's when Sub-Zero ambushes him. Then it comes to finding out that it wasn't Sub-Zero at all. It was Quan Chi imposed as Sub-Zero, and he says, I will help you avenge the death of your family and clan if you fight for the Netherrealm in the Mortal Kombat tournament, the 9th tournament in a row. Which that tournament series is like so. Every 10 generations there is a tournament, and if every generation there's a tournament, and on the 10th win for a single side, Outworld versus whoever, if they win 10 in a row, that person is allowed to invade and take over. They already did it once with Edenia. Outworld took over Edenia first, which is where Katana lived at, and her mother Sindel. And her mother Sindel had killed herself to try and protect Katana. And then eventually Katana was cloned, and you got Melina. Now Melina's in the movie, but there's no Katana, there's no Shao Kahn who was doing the taking over or anything. It's just Shang Tsung. It looks like it's all for Shang Tsung. There is a shot of Shao Kahn's painting on the wall. Why they went with the Mortal Kombat 11 with the big horn headdress, I don't know why. He was more menacing back in the day when it was just a man with a helmet and stuff than whatever Mortal Kombat has come to these days. That being said, like, the story is completely thrown off into left wing. Cole Young, I keep calling him Michael Cole. Cole Young story. It's just a generic hero becoming of age story, if you ask me. The story of Mortal Kombat has always been about Liu Kang. It's always been about Liu Kang, right? Even though he in the game he dies and then he comes back and then he dies again and he comes rewind time and then go back, rewrite everything over again because the story got so confusing. And now they're back up to where they are now, where they got the evil Liu Kang and younger Liu Kang to come together, become the fire guy. It's always been Liu Kang's story. It's like saying Street Fighter, the movie, when it did it without Ryu and Ken, they focused it on Guile. And the story of Street Fighter is more about Ryu and Ken. Yes, there are other people inside the movie with their all convoluted backstories, but it's their story. It's Liu Kang's story. It's what it's always been about. That's why at the end of Mortal Kombat 11, he becomes a fire god. For crying out loud. It's always been his story. Same thing with Street Fighter. Like I was saying, it's always been Ryu and Ken's story. Back on topic, we want to talk about casting. Everyone seems to love Kano. That is not Kano. That was never Kano in the game. Kano's not the funny guy. That's Johnny Cage, who they admitted from the movie. They show you at the end, oh, there'll be a poster with gonna go to Hollywood and go get Cage, but that's the funny guy, right? Kano in the game slit Sonya Blade's partner, who she was betrothed to be with, to wed, and she's never been on his side. There's never been the two of them in the same room where she's not trying to kill him, but yet she has him locked up in her house, and they go adventuring together across the world because Kano knows where Raiden's house is at. That's another thing. Shang Tsung is assassinating the fighters, and the whole dragon tattoo thing, whatever the hell is the marking. No. All right, you were either A, in the story of Mortal Kombat, lured on to the tournament because you were one of the fighters, but you probably couldn't be approached and say, "Hey, you want to come fight for him?" Right? So it means that you were something. Like Raiden had his eye on you the whole time. He chose you a long time ago, so you got to be something. Or B, you were approached, like Liu Kang was. Liu Kang was like, oh, well, they duped Liu Kang and they killed, Shang Tsung killed his younger brother. He was like, well, I got to stop Shang Tsung. You got to get in the tournament. They approached Johnny Cage and told him, if you come to this tournament, people will think you were the real deal instead of using stunt doubles in your movies. He's like, I got to come up for the challenge. I got to do something to impress my image. Sonya was chasing Kano. She winded up in the tournament by following him to the island where Kano literally led her to be there. So those were the actual fighters. They weren't markings, and you kill a guy with a gun who's an acceptable fighter, but you can't hand-to-hand combat for crap. Right? You can't hand-to-hand combat for crap, but you can shoot a gun. Well, there's no guns in Mortal Kombat unless you find whatever this is called, what they call it, chakra. I have no idea what the hell that is supposed to be. Apparently, when you fight as a marking, you get a special power. This should have been something that was always inside you regardless. Yes, I get that part, and it needs to come out, but it was being like on the island where the tournament actually takes place, where you start to learn things about yourself, not just randomly getting angry and a beam comes out of my eye. No, Kano's beam was a surgically implanted eye. It's called the laser eye, and that's what it did. It shot lasers from the eye. It did it on command. It didn't have to get pissed off over an egg roll for it to come out. Jax's whatever it is, inner power is to magically magically wield metal to his will so that his arms get beefier instead of whatever that was, skeleton wireframe arms that he had. That's got to be like the worst power I've ever seen. But again, Shang Tsung is assassinating the fighters, and Raiden is doing nothing. Raiden's sitting there saying, I can't save everyone. You can save 5 frickin' people. You're the frickin' god of thunder. If Thor can save all of Asgard, practically, you can save 5 fucking people. No, they literally barge into his house to come and kill his fighters, and he's like, barrier. Can't pass. What the fuck? Go back to 95. Shang Tsung tried to get Scorpion and Sub-Zero, who were working on the same team, which that was probably the only thing really bad about the first movie, other than it's dated, to fight Sonya, Liu Kang, and Johnny Cage. And what happened? Raiden bust up in the room and blew them both up against the wall and said, motherfucker, the tournament ain't started yet. You ain't doing nothing to my fighters until it's under sanction. This guy here, Raiden, does absolutely nothing. He could have done so much. He could have zapped their ass. He could have teleported them out of his own house or something. No, he just puts the barrier up until Kano goes and turns the battery off. The fuck are you good for? What is your purpose in this movie, Raiden? I think Christopher Lambert probably slapped the shit out your ass for that. And he's like 80? He still ain't scared to slap your ass. It's a good movie if you take it as a movie. Right? Don't go in there expecting to see actual Mortal Kombat stuff. Sub-Zero has never been the bad guy. Sub-Zero fought for the Earth Ram in the beginning. Scorpion killed him. He actually killed him using Sub-Zero's actual fatality by ripping his head out with his spine still attached. Right? But anyways, it's a good movie. I got nothing bad to say about that, but it doesn't need to be called Mortal Kombat. Goro bust up in here. Goro, the champion of 9 tournaments in a row. Goro bust up in here and is killed by this nobody, Cole Young. A tournament hasn't started. Technically, you ain't got no champion anymore. So everything's relied on Sub-Zero? All because of his ice? Why is Sub-Zero the most menacing guy here? I don't understand that. Sub-Zero was part of a very elite assassin clan named was the Lin Kuei. They didn't go getting hired by Shang Tsung to go mercilessly kill random dudes wearing tattoos. That would have been completely against his code of honor and every sense of the form. Again, Kano is a funny guy instead of being very serious, taken as an actual threat. He's more of a joke. And that should have been Cage's character and was portrayed very well. Then Cage fights, in the actual story, fights Goro and shows that he is the real deal, even though he is being the plucky comic relief, made to be made fun of. He is the real deal. They don't even put him in there, and I don't know why, because Johnny Cage's character was led to be, that famous actor from the 80s in the movie Bloodsport. That whole thing was supposed to be about him, but then he backed out. Not going to bring him up. Don't want any lawsuits. That being said, it just doesn't make sense. Reptile is killed in a matter of seconds, literally. All right, literally. You got Cabal in here, which makes no sense at all, because he's not a bad guy. He's actually a good guy, because at first he was taken in by the Black Dragon under Kano's lead. Then he left the Black Dragon and became a cop, worked with Stryker and Jax on their task force. Then he was burned very badly by a combatant from Mortal Kombat 2. Kano finds his body, puts him in the suit, and he still says, fuck you, Kano, and goes back and works for the cops. So I don't get why Cable is in it. Yeah, he's funny, but again, breaking character. Molina's in there, but there's no Katana. There's no Shao Kahn. It's very misleading, if you ask me. The story of Scorpion, he's literally looking like he's stuck in hell. That's his home now, where he lives. He basically is the second ruler of hell, or the Nether Realm is what they called it in the game. The only other leader is Shinnok, and he's locked up in the cage. And you see his amulet in the movie, and they're like, "Put that back." It's among other things treated like a commodity. Lord Shinnok's, or Quan Chi, I should say, his amulet to release Shinnok, the elder god himself, is sitting in Raiden's, trophy room next to his frickin' deer heads, treated like a commodity. Same thing as their power. Liu Kang walks around with fire in his hand like he can't see in the dark. Like, that's supposed to weaken you. And another thing about Liu Kang, again, this is his story, but for some reason, they made him into be like a servant boy for Raiden to go get the other fighters, and then you have to teach these guys to fight. I'm like, Raiden, why the hell did you choose these guys? Why didn't you actually choose martial arts people People who know how to fight to defend your realm, bro. Doesn't make any sense. Kano literally gets swept by the same move, same leg sweep 3 fucking times before he realizes, I don't know how to fight. Cole Young, I'm not a good fighter. Oh, we'll beat the crap out of you until you learn. You got so many days before a tournament takes place. You ain't got time to teach them how to fight. They should know how to fight. That should be the thing of them being chosen. They already know how to fight. We want to put their skills up against the other frickin' realms so that we can live. Woosah. I don't really know what more else to say about this movie other than it's a bad Mortal Kombat movie, but it's an okay movie by itself. If you just go and see it as a movie, remove all speculation, it's fine, but don't go there thinking you're going to see Mortal Kombat. And I don't want to hear in the comments or whatever, well, the writers have to make a movie that's opposable to all audience. No. Then don't call it Mortal Kombat. Right? You're literally screaming for gamers to go and watch this because it's saying Mortal Kombat. It's saying Mortal Kombat. It's barely above the Super Mario movie in my book, if you ask me. The original Mortal Kombat being probably the best adaptation from a game to a movie still to this date. And Tekken didn't do really good. You know, Street Fighter was, as you see, as you see, Double Dragon, you know, whatever. The guy that's creating or directing or whatever he's doing with the Metal Gear Solid movie that's to come out, that's supposed to star that guy from Star Wars. You know what I'm talking about? He was also in X-Men Apocalypse. Damn near looks just like Snake. He's making the screenwriters who are going to write the movie play the game. I mean, it's that simple, people. Directors, whoever, you have a source material. It's already there. How about learning it and then putting it on film? It can't be that hard. It literally can't. You start up the first Mortal Kombat game, there's only 7, 8 characters. There's no Cole Young. Oh my God, so scratch that idea. Who's the game about? Oh, it's about Liu Kang. Well, how about we don't dress him up in a white freaking gi with a red bandana, make him look like the guy from Street Fighter, and make him the actual protagonist of the movie? Done deal. We follow the game, and we can make a movie from it. Who would have thought it'd be that easy? It's already there. We just got to put it over here. Simple. That's it.